Veve C is a performing artist and professional model who describes her music as futuristic, whimsical in hip-hop, R&B, house and club with some pop elements. And she's on the line with us here just now. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you guys? How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Now, your music is incredible, isn't it? Because it's energetic, it's groovy, it's got everything you need.
Right. Yeah, I like to mix up my sounds. I'm like one of those type of people that don't like to stick to just one sound.
Yeah.
I kind of just go with whatever sound I like. So usually like a hip hop with a pop element, a little bit of R&B, rock. I just like everything. So I kind of like to put it all together in this one sound that kind of created itself.
Yeah, so is there an element of every time you release a single and album, we don't really know what we're going to get, so it kind of makes it exciting?
Exactly. I like to keep people guessing, so that's pretty much what I'm like.
Yeah. Now, you've got a new album called Reflection. Tell us about it.
Before we get into reflection, my first album, Viviology, was it's kind of like a scientific way. Well, it's kind of like a scientific sound to that
Yeah.
word. So it's kind of like showing the pretty much who I am, just showing just like the science of me. Whereas reflection, like the whole entire, so reflection is actually broken up into two different parts. So it's actually technically two separate albums, but it's under the same title. So
Yeah.
part one of reflection is going to be more like the aggressive side of me, showing more of the turn up, fun. When you think of reflection as literal, so you might see certain songs that might have twin references. You might have some
Ah.
songs that are literally showing me as me. And then there's some songs that I'm like reflecting on myself and my feelings and things like that, but more in a fun, energetic way. Whereas the second part to the album is more soft, is more club based, has some
Mm.
R&B, has a little bit more of like okay, I'm going to settle now. I'm going to reflect back to where I was and to where I
Yeah.
am now, just kind of closing out that whole album, making it into like a volume one, volume two.
Does it gradually change from volume one to volume two? Maybe you could listen to them both and it would gradually change, or is it volume one is like this and volume two is like this?
It depends on how you look at it. So the first song actually starts off with one of my singles that's actually out called "Beginning to an End." So
Yeah.
"Beginning to an End" is kind of like a storm that's coming, kind of like I'm just tired and fed up of all the nonsense, and now I'm
Yeah.
ready to throw back and fight. And then like the end of that album, I think it closes out into like kind of like wrapping up everything that's
Yeah.
in that album that started off aggressive. And then the second album, it starts, I would say in a way it does gradually start, because at the
Mm.
end of that album, it kind of closes out with Journey, just pretty much just reflecting back to all of it. So if you do listen to it from the first song all the way down to the last song of the second part, you could see a gradual change into the two different volumes that you would play.
Yeah. So, how does this album compare to your previous ones in terms of the musical style?
So you will hear a lot of different styles. So
Yeah.
for Viviology, it was kind of, Breeze is kind of like your light hip hop, but it had a little bit of elements of just calm R&B, a little bit maybe. And then there's a couple other like aggressive songs, but it was kind of like shortened because it was 10
Mm.
songs. So you might have like two songs that were more on the soft mainstream of things. You had like a
Yeah.
few songs that was more aggressive cursing, and then maybe like one or two that was like miscellaneous. And then reflection, you have a lot more happening. So like
Mm.
you have beginning to a end that's just cold hip hop, that's cold like aggressive hip hop, just hitting it. And then you have like Birthday Twin that has a little bit of rock amped up. You have like a rock sound to it, so it's like it's still hip hop, but you have a lot of elements of rock, like even maybe a little bit of metal, just depending on like the alternative metal of things. You might hear a
Yeah.
little bit of that. The second album, you will hear some R&B songs. I don't think I've had an actual R&B song yet, and you will hear that in the second album. I also don't have a Cub song yet, so you will hear
Mm.
that in the second album as well. And then of course, the pop and the R&B hip hop elements, you'll still hear that. So there's a lot more into play that me and my brother and my dad, we actually put into the second album than the
Wow.
first one. But the first one had to be the foundation for us to then elevated a little bit more into the next one.
So is this a kind of family project in a way?
It actually is. So our label is Home Cave Records. We actually co-owned it since last year when we pretty much finalized the Viviology album. Yeah. And my brother, he's actually the producer and the engineer of all my sounds. So he's really the reason why I'm even able to talk about this now, because and mind you, he's only 16. So he's been working on beats and music since 13, and he's just been taking it and running. Like, he took and ran with the sounds that initially I didn't know about, but then when I overheard it, I had to take it. And my dad, he's our manager, so he oversees to make sure everything runs smoothly, that nothing is going wrong, and he puts great input into the projects that we do as well. So we are a family unit, but I think on top of us being family, we really do come collectively together to make these projects happen. And without them, I wouldn't even be able to talk about this. So it's definitely a family unit, I would say.
Yeah. Do you think it's often better to collaborate, to get minds together, than perhaps it would be if you were on your own?
Absolutely. It's funny you say that, because I'm actually more of the type of person that works on my own. So I tend, whatever it is I put my mind to, I don't really wait on people to get it done. Yeah. I always feel like collaborating is better, because the more ideas you get, the better outcome you get. And I just feel like to include your family, it just makes all the difference. Of course, there's going to be times that we may have certain disagreements and certain things that, we kind of have to, not compromise, but kind of sacrifice in the midst of talking about different ideas and stuff. Yeah. But for the most part, we all came together. We all kind of threw our own ideas into what we wanted to show the world. We're still doing that now as we speak. So it is still a process, but it's always better to work collectively than alone. But I will also say that I do write my own songs, and I do projects on my own that I can, pretty much hold on my end of things. So I just feel like it's always better doing it in a group, but I can always do things as well on the side.
That's good balance there.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the song Birthday Twin as well, because it sounds like an interesting title. What lyrically is it actually about?
So when you hear it, so Birthday Twin, the title on its own is already kind of going back into the reflection title, because twin, reflections, kind of like the literal term of it. When you hear the song, I mean, it's a turn up song. Literally, the title is saying birthday twin. So you're literally going to find your birthday twin. Yeah. So the song is not like Breeze, where you have to like read between the lyrics and actually like understand. This is kind of more like the turn up, like go to the cup, find your birthday twin. You have the same birthday as me. Let's turn up. Let's have fun. We are actually working towards planning the music video. So the music video is going to actually show visuals that that you guys will see soon. That's going to actually reflect the title. So there might be some literal references, there might be some figurative references, but it's definitely the title that you hear is exactly what you're going to hear in the song. So it's going to be fun. I love it.
That's exciting. So how did you actually get interested in making music originally?
My family is actually inclined in music. So I've been into music since I was born. My dad, he's a DJ. So, whenever I would walk around in my diapers and hear my dad DJing, I always just observe to see what he's doing. And just being around him so much and watching him do that just gave me the right adrenaline to channel, my inner creativity into that. I think I started writing since I was in elementary school. When you write something when you're young, it doesn't make sense when you're older, but you did it. So I wrote like a lot of songs that I till this day, I couldn't understand what I wrote, but it just always fascinated me to write what I was feeling and then kind of just put a sound to it. So I've been into music since I was a little girl, but I didn't really get into like the actual recording of things until my brother actually started producing my stuff. And that was when we started with Breeze, and we started working on Breeze since he was 13. Now having it released last year, that would have made him 15. So I would say professionally maybe 3 years, but I've been into it since I was young.
And has it always been this kind of genre that you've wanted to do?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always into hip hop. You know, growing up listening to artists like Jada Kiss, Lil Kim, and all the all the legends out there, and just listening to that sound. I always wanted something of that sound, but just making it into my own. I just never knew what my sound was gonna actually be until my brother started making beats. So I already kind of had like that mindset, especially since my family is hip hop inclined. My dad was part of a group back in the day called Rock and G and DJ Shawn. So of course, having my dad have that hip hop background, I already was born into that of things. I just never knew what exactly my sound was going to be until my brother started making my beats, and I think that started to elevate into like this whimsical, futuristic version of hip hop versus like the hardcore that you hear. But I love all genres.
Well, what else is coming up for you? Do you have more albums even after Reflection?
I'm sure there's going to be albums down the line. Reflection is going to definitely be the turning point for me. I'm definitely confident that Reflection is going to be the album that's going to eventually bring me to the mainstream radios, hopefully manifesting it. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of collaborations down the line. Nothing's set in stone yet, but there will be some music that I will be having out soon outside of the Reflection album, and as well as Reviology. There's a lot of other projects I'm doing outside of music too. So like I'm going to be part of a movie that I actually can't even talk about right now because they're still working on the deals and all the back end stuff of things. So I'll be part of that movie as well. Of course, I'm still doing fashion modeling. So, I just finished doing New York Fashion Week and just kind of just putting on my eggs in one basket and doing it all. So there'll definitely be a lot of more work to come outside of the albums for sure.
Isn't it always New York Fashion Week? It seems to last longer than a week.
Yep, it's a whole month. But they say week is not week, it's month. Maybe even longer.
Well, where will we be able to find your album Reflection when it comes out, and also all your other music?
So my the easiest way, if you Google me, VEVE space C, so that's VVC, but it's a space in between, you'll actually be able to easily find all my streaming platforms on there. You can find me everywhere, like literally from like your Apple iTunes, your Google, your Pandora, Spotify, Shazam, YouTube, like every platform that iHeartRadio that could support streaming music, you'll find it there. You'll also be able to find it on our homecaverecords.com website, where you will see my press kit and some of the stuff I've done, like my Breeze music video, and you'll probably even find some articles and other things as well. So just Google and you'll be able to find it. And The Real BBC is my new IG.
Excellent. Well, many thanks for coming on today. It's been great to talk to you.
You too, Toby. Thank you so much again for having me.